Now what couldn't take a beating is the factory aluminum crossbar here. You can actually see I split the weld right there. I literally split the weld in half. But not only did I split it there, check out the backside.
What's up, Lite Brite Nation?
What's going on, Lite Brite Nation?
So, for those of you who haven't been following along, we are currently in New York at KRAWLER getting a long arm kit and a 3-link installed on the stepchild, which is why our morning looked the way that it did. So, New York, turns out in December, who would have thunk it, is a little cold and it snows a lot.
A little bit of a lot.
So, here's the thing. Not that I'm complaining about the snow, because obviously we're from Colorado, we love the snow, although the cold here is a little bit different than the cold in Colorado. My complaint is that the whole part of like owning our own business and traveling across the nation.
You're gonna bring that up.
I am totally throwing you under the bus. Kevin has always said like, oh, the cool thing, like during the winter time, we can stay south. Like we can pick our routes, right? We can stay south for the winter where it's warm. Somehow we ended up in New York in the middle of December.
We're here. Yeah, we're here.
The only silver lining here, well, there's a lot of silver linings, obviously, but the biggest silver lining is that Jelly Belly loves the snow. So I'm not too upset about it. But guys, we're gonna continue the build. So again, for those of you who've been following along, you're well aware that this is no longer than that. Now, in the previous video, although we do have the rear axle completely out, all the bracketry cut off that we need cut off and completely grind it down and smooth as possible, there are still a couple of brackets that have to be removed from the actual frame of the stepchild, including these little guys in the rear and a bunch of these little guys right here and right here on both sides of the front, because as you can see, ta-da, the front axle has been completely removed along with all the steering components. So we have full access to all this. And at this point, we got to cut and grind before we can start tacking up and welding. All right, so now while the other guys continue to cut off and grind down all the brackets that we don't need, we've got Diesel here doing something pretty interesting with one of our body mounts.
So they got all the suspension mounts cleaned up, inside, outside, and so basically this side's ready to go for the new suspension. So I'm coming in here and hole sawing the body mount, and this will give us a good round finish, you know, so we don't cut ourselves and it looks super clean. And then we're gonna basically notch out this body mount because the control arm is going to mount somewhere up in here. And then when it actually comes up and down, KRAWLER definitely concentrates on having a high suspension so you can't hit the obstacle. So we're going to clearance basically the body mount to clear the rear arm.
Basically, so as it articulates, we're not hitting this, and we're giving it a perfect recess to kind of move up into.
Right, right. So we know how Brite does it. We got a slug.
A little bit more, and then you can use it as like a
Chinese
like
star.
Like you can just like
one
slash
of those, like,
somebody.
grip blades?
Yeah, like it's got like a blade. No. Like your hand would go in through here.
Oh.
That
Like
would
a
be
brass
the blade.
knuckle, but a
No,
blade
like the
instead
other
of a knuckle.
flip it 180. Then you hold it like that right here.
Oh,
and then
right.
You
have
just like punch someone in the
no,
throat
you
with
just
it.
like cut them.
This is some nickname that we nicknamed the horseshoe, kind of. The JKs, JLs, this is the front lower control arm that goes to the frame, and it's double layered. So the easiest way to get this mount off is to take a cutoff wheel, and we cut around the weld. This is where it actually welds right to the frame. So we cut it.
Air chisel that.
Yeah, being very careful not to nick the JL frames, because we want to keep all the material on those frames we can. And then, like he said, get the air hammer and pop this thing off. And this is what takes the longest.
You got your work cut out
But
for you for that.
this makes a difference between a good job and a crappy job. The guys that leave this on, bad job. Here at KRAWLER, good job.
All right, so now that we've got just about all the brackets cut off the frame, everything ground down and ready to weld up, the next part is probably the most interesting and awesome part of this entire installation, and that's all of this that you see right here. What you're looking at is the first ever Dynatrac 80 specific truss for a 3-link. Now what that means is that this is being built specifically for the Dynatrac 80. And what's even more awesome is KRAWLER is actually creating bracketry like this for all of the Dynatrac axles. All the way not just for 3-link, but even up to your 4-link triangulated for the JT. And what that basically means is that if you want to go with a Dynatrac axle, which again, why wouldn't you? That means that you can actually order, not now, but sometime in the very, very near future, you'll be able to order your Dynatrac axle equipped with the bracketry that you want specifically for the suspension you want to run for your vehicle. That means you don't have to do all this stuff that we're doing right now in terms of cutting everything off, grinding everything down, and doing all that extra work. We're doing it now so that you don't have to in the future, and KRAWLER's doing it now so that you guys don't have to worry about it, because Dynatrac will be able to equip this for you from their shop from the get-go. So now behind this sexy cover right here is an 11.25 inch ring gear, which is basically synonymous with indestructible. And in our Dynatrac ProRock 60 front axle, we have a 10.1 inch ring gear. Now to top that off, this Dynatrac 80 has a leading 4-inch lightweight chromoly axle tube. If you measure right here, you can see that I'm not joking. And to top it off, in addition to that, Dynatrac has a patented higher ground clearance than any other axle housing on the market, which is freaking amazing. And of course, the Dynatrac ProRock 60 is equipped with a 1550 wheel end with the lowest scrub radius in the industry. It has up to 50 degrees of turning capability, and it's equipped with the strongest rebuildable Dynatrac HD ball joints. Now, in addition to all of that, the Dynatrac locking hubs are 3 times stronger than any other locking hub. And if all of that isn't good enough, remember that all of Dynatrac's products are American made, which we all know is fan-freaking-tastic. All right, but now with that all said, it's time to weld this bad boy up. We're tacking it first, right?
Yep.
This is JD, by the way. He's gonna be doing all this handy-dandy work here. So we're gonna tack it up first, make sure everything fits the way we need it to fit,
Yep.
and then we'll start welding.
Absolutely.
Let's do it.
There's dirt on my hands, strong like a tree. There's roots where I stand. Oh, I've been running from the law. Hope they won't shoot me down soon. They sing on a sleepless night. Try to catch me howling at the moon.
All right, so now that we've basically got this whole thing tack welded together, JD here is actually going to remove it from the Dynatrac 80, take it over to his workbench over there, and actually fully weld it together. And then we'll bring it back over here, bolt it back on, and then we'll weld it to the Dynatrac axle itself. And again, remember, this is basically the mounting point for the actual 3-link component of our entire new suspension setup. This is what's gonna make sure that it stays exactly where it needs to be and we don't rip it off doing stupid stuff like we're known to do. And while JD goes and does all the welding, we've got some E3 off-road stuff going on in the meantime, but I'm gonna let them do that, and I'm actually gonna follow JD out here to continue monitoring the build of the new monster stepchild.
What's up, bud? We're on camera now. Are we? I just walked up like fingers and oh, and he goes, we're on camera.
Okay, so tell me what you're experiencing right now.
So what I'm experiencing is a little bit of bent aluminum in the skid plates.
It's keeping our bolt from
Yeah.
removing.
And we need to get it out so we can weld the long arm mount on, trials and tribulation and all that good stuff.
Okay, so now that JD is basically done welding the rear axle truss and 3-link mount, he's gonna send that off to get powder coated. And while he's doing that, I've got a little help over here because we have to remove the metal cloak skid plate, the gas tank skid right now, which normally you wouldn't have to. It's not in the way or anything as far as the brackets or clearancing goes, but it is in the way for the welding because this bracket right here, which Diesel has, there you go, goes right there. And as you can see, it's gonna be really hard to get to this bottom welding down here without getting rid of this skid. So we have to basically get the skid off so that we can mount up all, at this point we're ready to mount, mock up, and weld all of our body frame brackets into place, which is, there's how many total?
About 1780.
F1780. Okay, now while they continue to work to get this metal cloak skid off, I'm gonna go ahead and show you where the 11 brackets need to be welded on, not 1780. So we have our rear long arm brackets that'll go right there, and equally on the other side we actually have our upper brackets for our shocks because we are keeping our 6-pack shocks, and they'll be mounted to another bracket that we're going to end up taking this off and putting another one there, and those are on either side, so there's 4. And then we have 5 and 6, which are going to be your front long arm brackets. And last but not least, on the frame itself, our 7th is going to go right up here, and that will be for the 3-link. And then if we come to our Dynatrac 80 in the rear, we are actually going to have 2 of these guys. That's 8 and 9, and that is for both the long arm and for your lower shock mount. And then 10 is going to be your track bar, and 11 is going to be that whole rear truss 3-link mount there. So we actually have 11 total brackets that have to be welded into place both on the frame and on the rear axle. Now, what's really, really interesting about our entire setup that we're doing right now is it is a fully hybrid system, as some of you might have already noticed, and as we've already heard from several people on social media, we are doing a hybrid rock crawler and metal cloak system. What we're doing is we're actually using the rock crawler long arm and 3-link kit. We're retaining our metal cloak 6-pack shocks along with our metal cloak skids and our metal cloak rock sliders, which I actually want to show you something pretty cool about this. What's pretty neat is that we actually don't have to do anything in terms of modification wise for our metal cloak slider here because it's body mounted, which I know a lot of people had been concerned whether or not it would hold up. Obviously, it is taking the crap ton of beating that Kevin and I have put this thing through so far, and we haven't really had any issues.
But you can see we've recessed the body mounts here to clear for the control arm. A lot of the boat slider type that actually will bolt up to the body mount, there will be some modifications made, but we got real lucky with the metal cloak sliders and the skid plates for sure. So definitely a plus on this install.
Now, for those of you who are wondering, yes, Metal Cloak still makes incredible products. That's why we're keeping a lot of it on our Jeep. It's just that for us, the long arm kit and the 3-link is the next progression of our build, which is why we've come to Rock Crawler, who also makes incredible products. And we're actually really, really excited about testing out this whole hybrid system. It should be pretty freaking awesome. And I'm pretty sure that we've proven over and over and over again just how much of a beating and how much banging around the metal cloak components on our Jeep are capable of taking. Speaking of taking an epic beating, look at our metal cloak skid plate right now. Can you turn it this way so the bottom's facing me? Look at the
It's got a reverse arc to it.
Yeah, that was once bent in the opposite direction, I think. This thing, could you imagine if that was our actual gas tank? We'd be so epically screwed. I mean, if that's not proof of the quality of this skid right here, I don't really know what is.
Now, what couldn't take a beating is the factory aluminum crossbar here. You can actually see I split the weld right there. I literally split the weld in half. But not only did I split it there, check out the backside. The backside's completely split as well, and it's starting to crack and work its way all the way around.
So before we weld on any of the brackets,
So before anything else goes on, we're gonna clean this up and re-weld it. And at a certain point, I mean, that thing bolts on. We might go to just a steel. Might go to a steel one, or I can quit beating this Jeep up so bad.
yeah, but then where would be the fun in that? Now that we've got that out of the way,
Yeah, you know,
in the car.
I've been in New York for a while.
Oh my God! It's like those TikToks where it's like 1 day in New York, 3 days in New York. I can't do the accent though. So, anyways.
What are you talking about?
Now that we've got that out of the way, and our cross members well done.
Hey, yo, Adrian!
Oh my God. The next step is to weld all of the brackets, not on just to the frame, but also onto our rear Dynatrac 80 axle.
Yeah, everything, the whole frame, everything's cut apart. Everything's smoothed out. Everything's.
Our whole Jeep's like just gutted right now.
The Jeep has
underneath.
literally just been like cut to pieces, sort of.
But the next step is getting it back together, basically.
Yeah.
You'll have to wait till next time, though. Thank you for watching,
Oh,
you
man,
guys.
really?
Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.
What a pain in
Remember,
the
you can
butt.
find all of your Lite Brite Nation merch at litebritstudios.com. All of your Lite Brite Nation decals at pixeldecals.com. Also, don't forget about E3 Off-Road, because we got a bunch of stuff going on for that as well. We love you guys, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Mwah.
I love you guys.
So we know how Lite Brite does it.
All right, go for it.
Oh, the whole thing again?
Oh, no, have at it. I mean, start drilling.
Wait, give me that face again. Snapshot.
Quiet on set. All right, I got it.
Yeah.